Hello, everyone, and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham, coming to you live from the nation's capital here in Washington, D.C. And today, Donald Trump looks for an off-ramp, and Elon Musk heads for the exit. We've got the latest on these and other stories coming up, but first, here's a look at the latest headlines. India orders all Pakistani citizens to leave the country by April 29th as tensions mount between the two nations after a deadly terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir on Tuesday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky cuts short his first visit ever to South Africa after Russia fires hundreds of drones and missiles, killing at least 9 in Ukraine. Iran criticizes new U.S. sanctions targeting its oil network as hostile ahead of a third round of talks to negotiate a nuclear deal. Japan investigates 2 U.S. Marines on the island of Okinawa for alleged rape in a bid to deter sexual and other crimes by American service personnel. And Australia to stockpile rare earth minerals in a new strategic reserve as it seeks to create a separate supply chain in a market dominated by China. We begin here in Washington, where reports say the Trump administration is considering slashing tariffs on Chinese goods, in some cases by more than half. China is currently facing up to 245% tariffs on imports to the United States, but the base tariff on most products being 145%. But now the Trump administration is seeking to reduce them to around 50 to 60%. The White House is considering tax reductions in a bid to de-escalate tensions with Beijing that have roiled global trade. In fact, on Wednesday, the president said he gets along well with Chinese President Xi Jinping and wants to make a fair deal with Beijing.
No, I haven't brought it down. I haven't brought it still 145. I haven't brought it down. I said it's a high tariff. It is a high tariff, but I haven't brought it down. It basically means China's not doing any business with us, essentially, because it's a very high number. But we get along. I get along very well with President Xi, and I hope we can make a deal. Otherwise, we'll set a price, and hopefully they'll come here and they'll contribute. And if they don't, that's okay.
Trump's remarks followed optimistic comments he made on Tuesday suggesting a deal to lower tariffs on China was in fact possible. Beijing responded by saying the door was wide open for trade talks with Washington. However, it did accuse President Trump of exerting extreme pressure, which is hampering trade negotiations between the world's 2 largest economies.
If the U.S. truly wants to resolve issues through dialogue and negotiation, it should stop making threats and resorting to coercion and engage with China on the basis of equality, mutual respect, and mutual benefit. Saying they want to reach an agreement with China while continuing to apply maximum pressure is not the right way to deal with China, and it will not work.
Meanwhile, direct talks between the U.S. and China to tackle the fentanyl crisis are not moving forward in the way they should. Reports say the two sides are exchanging intelligence about traffickers, but Beijing's proposals to solve the crisis have so far not been adequate. Washington has accused Chinese exporters of providing chemicals to drug traffickers who use them to make synthetic opioids, which are then smuggled into the United States. However, China has long defended its drug laws, saying America must handle its own addiction woes. And now, with the fentanyl talks hanging by a thread, it remains to be seen if President Trump and President Xi will reach an agreement to end the brutal trade war and bring relief to global markets. And staying in Washington, Tesla CEO Elon Musk is taking a step back from the Dept of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, the entity tasked with slashing federal spending and government workforce. In a recent Tesla earnings call, Musk told investors that his around-the-clock work at DOGE would be reduced to just 1 or 2 days each week starting this May. The billionaire added he would give more attention to his electric car company, which is undergoing a major sales slump.
The large slug of work necessary to get the DOGE team in place and working in the government to get the financial house in order is mostly done. So I think I'll continue to spend, a day or two per week on government matters for as long as the president would like me to do so, and as long as it is useful. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla.
Musk's unexpected remarks came amid Tesla investors begging him to scale back from President Trump's controversial project and focus more on Tesla. In fact, on Tuesday, the automaker reported its profits fell 71% over the first 3 months of this year. The report revealed Tesla's total revenue decreased by 9%, and car sales revenues plunged 20% in the first quarter of 2025 compared to last year. Analysts have largely pinned the blame for Tesla's sale drop on Musk's role in the Trump administration, which has also led to protests outside Tesla showrooms and vandalism at its facilities in recent weeks. Musk's public disengagement from Washington has now left DOGE without a clear driver, potentially slowing down its momentum. In fact, reports say the members of the Trump cabinet could soon regain power over the department's operations, reasserting control over both federal spending and staffing. Musk's department is reportedly deeply unpopular among Trump's cabinet secretaries, who see DOGE workers as encroaching on their traditional authority of hiring and firing employees. However, President Trump says that the contradiction in such reports remains, saying that he would like to keep Musk for a long, long time.
I heard him say that he'll start easing, he was always at this time going to ease out. And when he goes back to Tesla, that'll be taken care of. It's artificial. These were sick people that thought they were doing something. He's a great patriot, and it shouldn't be the way, that should never have happened to him.
With Musk's public pullback from DOGE, a lot of people at the White House are now breathing a sigh of relief. Though one can't help but wonder that with Musk reducing his time at DOGE, is this the beginning of the end of his relationship with the president? And in the aftermath of the deadly terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam region, where at least 26 tourists were killed by Pakistan-linked terror groups, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has finally broken his silence. His response on Wednesday followed widespread criticism over the deadly delay, especially with other global leaders having already condemned the attack.
I am horrified by the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir, a senseless and shocking act of violence that has killed and injured innocent civilians and tourists. Canada strongly condemns this terrorist attack. We offer our condolences to the victims and their families.
Prime Minister Carney's statement came hours after his political rival and Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre condemned the attack early Wednesday. Poilievre's prompt response highlighted the delayed reaction from the Canadian Prime Minister, who was the last among the G7 leaders to condemn the terror attack.
I condemn in the strongest terms the horrific terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir that took the lives of innocent civilians, including tourists and families. Our hearts are with the victims, their loved ones, and all those affected. Canada stands united against terror in all its forms.
The delay in response from Prime Minister Carney sparked criticism from several Indo-Canadian community members who expressed frustration over the silence from Canada's top leadership. Meanwhile, tensions within the Indo-Canadian community have been further aggravated by a recent incident in Surrey, British Columbia. Just 2 days ago, vandals defaced a Hindu temple with pro-Khalistan graffiti. According to temple authorities, 2 unidentified individuals targeted the place of worship, spray painting the word Khalistan on the entrance and pillars.
We strongly condemn this hateful act of vandalism and theft, which is not only a crime but a direct attack on a sacred space that serves as a spiritual and cultural center for many families, including elderly members and children.
Now, this is not the first time incidents of this nature have stirred political and social unease within Canada's multicultural communities. In fact, just last Monday, a Sikh temple in Vancouver was also vandalized by pro-Khalistan graffiti. The vandalism of both Hindu and Sikh places of worship has united many Hindu Canadians and Sikh Canadians in their call for immediate action from the authorities. So with federal elections scheduled for next Monday, all eyes are now on how Carney's Liberal Party addresses both domestic and international concerns raised by recent events. Colombia's former foreign minister has accused President Gustavo Petro of being a drug addict. In a public letter, the ex-minister claimed President Petro disappeared for 2 days during an official trip to Paris back in 2023. The accusation has caused a political uproar, with opposition leaders demanding drug and psychiatric tests. Now, even though President Petro denied the claims, he did not address them directly. Instead, he clarified, saying he spent time with his family while in Paris. The controversy comes as Colombia faces record cocaine production under President Petro's leadership. Here's more on the bombshell allegations.
Colombia is in political turmoil. A dramatic letter has set the nation alight. Former Foreign Minister Álvaro Leiva has accused President Gustavo Petro of drug addiction. In an open letter to Petro on X, Leiva detailed troubling behavior and one mysterious disappearance. According to the ex-minister, the president vanished for 2 full days in Paris without any explanation, with no schedule, and certainly without any trace.
It was in Paris that I was able to confirm that you had a drug addiction problem. Your recovery, sadly, has not taken place.
Calling it an embarrassing moment, Leiva didn't stop there. He also listed missed meetings, strange speeches, and erratic trips. He claimed Petro often arrived late, spoke incoherently, and traveled without purpose. In his letter, he cited unease and bewilderment followed Petro across continents. President Petro did fire back, but not with facts. He turned to sarcasm. Doesn't Paris have parks and museums? He asked on X. Aren't my granddaughters more interesting than the letter's writer? He added. But the public wasn't convinced. Neither were lawmakers. Demands for drug and mental health tests flooded in. This isn't just anyone, said Congresswoman Catherine Miranda. It's the president. But the ex-foreign minister is no saint. In fact, Leiva's own career adds to the drama. Though a conservative, he served Petro loyally. He negotiated peace, defended policy, stood beside him until now. Earlier this year, Leiva was suspended. A passport contract scandal forced him out. Petro called it political sabotage, but since then, Leiva's tone has shifted. His hints have grown sharper, and now they have exploded. The accusations come as Petro faces scrutiny over drug policy. Back in February, he called cocaine is no worse than whiskey. He even argued for its global legalization and claimed the only reason it's illegal is that it's made in Latin America.
Cocaine is illegal because it is made in Latin America, not because it is worse than whiskey. If you want peace, you have to dismantle the business of drug trafficking. It could easily be dismantled if...
In 2023, Colombia produced 2,600 tons, the most in its history. Armed groups continue to control vast drug territories, and violence has displaced thousands in areas like Catatumbo.
Unfortunately, the deterioration of the humanitarian situation continued in a large part of the country during 2022, in some regions of the country in particular, which we have noticed since 2018. We are talking about humanitarian consequences such as massive displacement, confinement, individual displacement, attacks against health personnel, against those who provide health care, disappearances.
Tensions have also spilled across borders. In January, Petro clashed with Donald Trump over deportation flights. Trump then threatened sanctions, which made Petro back down. But then came the final twist, when he claimed the US revoked his visa.
I can no longer go because I believe they took away my visa. I didn't need to have one, but anyway, I've already seen Donald Duck several times, so I'll go see other things.
With the spotlight back on Petro, his vanishing act in Paris has triggered more than gossip. It's become a question of truth or cover-up.
And today we end with the first family's youngest son, Barron Trump. Being a college freshman is never easy, and it's even trickier when you're the son of the U.S. president. At New York University, Barron Trump is finding creative ways to stay in touch with friends while keeping his privacy intact. With Secret Service always nearby and security concerns top of mind, he's ditched his phone number and picked up an Xbox controller instead. The youngest Trump is turning to gaming platforms like Xbox to stay connected on campus. Here's more from New York.
College can be a big adjustment for any freshman, even more so when you're the son of the US president. We're talking about 19-year-old Barron Trump. He's currently navigating student life at New York University with one key difference: the constant presence of Secret Service agents and a need for privacy. Instead of relying on traditional communications methods, Barron Trump has found a workaround that fits right into Gen Z's digital lifestyle. He's reportedly using his Xbox to communicate with his friends. Barron reportedly is steering clear of sharing his phone number for security reasons. Reports state that him sharing his personal number creates more trouble than it's worth, with the risk of the number leaking and potentially leading to endless unsolicited calls. It seems easier to avoid it altogether. Earlier, reports came out suggesting that Barron has been connecting with friends online through Discord, and now he's been using Xbox. Known more for its role in gaming than casual conversation, Xbox allows for private voice and text chats. It's a discreet way for the NYU freshman to maintain a social circle without compromising his safety. A report stated that it's his communication platform of choice. He's still troubleshooting, but it works for now. According to reports, Barron only shares his Xbox gamer tag with people he knows. He also reportedly ensures a degree of control over who he talks to. It's part of what reports call gamer bro culture. It's a familiar and private setting where friends can keep in touch through game chats instead of group texts. In an earlier interview, Barron's father, US President Donald Trump, had commented on his son's tech-savvy nature. He had shared an instance where he thought he had successfully turned off his son's laptop, only to find Barron had already turned it back on. The president asked, "How did you do that?" Barron's response, "None of your business, Dad." Trump described his son as someone with unbelievable aptitude in tech. Take that, like everything Trump says, with a pinch of salt. For Barron Trump, finding normalcy in a not-so-normal college experience means adapting to new ways of staying connected. Even if it means logging into Xbox instead of simply sending a text. While his security detail may keep him physically distant from typical student life, the virtual world offers him a space to communicate and bond with close friends on his own terms.
That's Firstpost America for this Thursday, April 24th. I'm Eric Ham, signing off from our studios here in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in.